1.
Hey, how's it going? This is Chris Tali along with Christina Tali of That Trans Geek Girl, and we're here because it had to be said. Look, I took a break from It Had to Be Said. I knew I was pissing some people off with some of my points of view and everything else, but this one, it's just got to be talked about. The Tide Pod Challenge. If you guys don't know about it, I'm sure we'll edit in a little video here, right here for you guys. Basically, what it is these idiot YouTube kids, and I understand this video is on YouTube, but YouTube kids are jumping online and daring themselves to bite, and I'm not even sure, are they swallowing it or just
I
trying to
believe
hold it
they
in their
are.
mouth? And swallowing the Tide detergent pods that you throw into your wash, which, if I remember correctly, those packets are half detergent, like powder detergent, half liquid. I don't even know where to begin with this. It's like I really don't. As a father, of course, the first thing I'm thinking of is my 21-year-old being a retard and doing this stuff. Because if the Tide don't kill him, I will. Yeah, but of course I got a 9 and an 8-year-old that, too young to know this stuff, but they watch YouTube, and I don't want them getting that impression that this is okay. I mean, you know what? While I'm gathering my thoughts, Christina, what are you thinking on this? What about the first off, the rash of these online challenges, like the gallon challenge, the cinnamon challenge, the bath salt challenge, and now the Tide Pod, and
Um,
especially knowing what Tide Pods are, how extremely stupid and dangerous is this?
this is fucking ridiculous. I mean, I remember a few years ago we had challenges, like we had the ice water challenge, which went for a good, which was actually for awareness. I can't remember what it was now, but it had an awareness behind it. And it
I
wasn't
think
dangerous.
I took part of that. I think it was ALS.
I think it was ALS. I think you're correct. I did also. I mean, things like that were different. Now these kids, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I remember, I think it was last year, you had the blue whale challenge. That was
What was
pretty.
that? Wait.
Blue whale challenge. It was a series of challenges that led up to pretty much a kid committing suicide, to kids committing suicide as part of a
What?
challenge.
That was the challenge on whether or not you had the balls to commit suicide?
At the end, yeah, it was a series of challenges that built up to you killing yourself. That was, I
And
believe,
kids,
last year or the year before last. And now this new one, it's fucking ridiculous. It's the Tide Pods challenge. Yeah, let's put a chemical that's poisonous in our mouths and see how well we fare. What? I don't know who the fuck thinks this shit's a good idea, whether it's some asshole somewhere going, "Hey, you know something, let's go fuck with these people and see how many people kill themselves," or whatever. But I have kids too. I have kids who are too young to realize that, hey, you know something? Maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe I shouldn't do this.
well, see, I could almost understand. I could almost understand. Almost, and I'm going to stress that. Almost understand if young kids were doing this because the Tide Pod pods do kind of sort of look like candy. So I can understand like an isolated incident here or there where a child thought they were getting a lifesaver or an everlasting gobstopper, and oh shit, parents weren't paying attention, whatever. These are teenagers to early 20. These are millennials. This is the best way I can describe. I'm
They're
sorry.
not
I'm
even
gonna throw it
millennials.
right
They're
out there.
past millennials. They're the current generation, which is not even millennials. I don't even know what the hell we classify them as now, because the millennials ended a while ago. Because they're the ones getting
I
like in the 20s now.
I think Red Foreman and that '70s show classified this generation. Dumbass. Dumbasses. You're supposed to be smarter than us. You have every advantage under the sun. Okay, I'm Generation X. Okay, so I grew up where there was no computers. I grew up where telephones were on cords hanging on a wall. Okay, and if I wanted to make a call to somebody when I was out and about, I went to a payphone. I know I'm speaking archaic things here, but you people are supposed to be 10 times more intelligent than I could ever be because of all the advantages in the world. And what you use that intelligence to do is to stick laundry detergent in your mouth.
I mean, we did do our share. You gotta admit, we did our share of stupid shit when we were growing up, when we were teenagers, too. Like, I remember running across, like, daring each other to run across freaking Route 1 in rush hours. You know? Things like I look back on now and it's like, wow, I could have been killed. But,
But we did it. But we did it for ourselves. We did it for our own entertainment. I'm not saying that that makes it any better, but
no, it really
understand,
doesn't.
we were trying 9 times out of 10 we were trying to impress our friends, our small group of friends, impress a girl or a guy, and that was it. Trying to prove that we had the machismo, whatever the case may be. These idiots are doing it for fucking thumbs ups on fucking videos from people they never knew.
See, I'm curious if it's actually leaning to a deeper issue with this generation, too. That generation of being that these kids probably don't have the best self-esteem. Like, they're trying to get whatever acknowledgement and whatever they can get to be more, I don't know, maybe they think nothing bad's gonna happen. I mean, you're putting a toxic substance in your mouth. I remember when Tide Pods first came out, even there was this big thing on the news about telling people from poison control, telling people, hey, you have to keep these out of the reach of children because children mistake this stuff for candy, and they do kind of look like candy. I mean, they're brightly colored. The same thing with the dishwasher tabs. There's other brands. Gain makes them. I mean, they don't look as dangerous as what they really are. But these kids are putting this shit in their mouths, knowing that this stuff is dangerous, knowing that you can die from this, or at least at least a trip to the freaking ER. And why? I mean, I put out videos on YouTube almost weekly. Chris puts out videos on YouTube almost weekly. We do this, like, he does this show. He does Breaking the Fourth Wall. I do that Trans Geek Girl. He puts out Press A Gaming, which I do once in a while as well. I mean, the point is, we do our stuff. I mean, may not have the biggest fan base in the world, but at the same time, we're not doing anything that fucking stupid to try to get our likes up, to, like, try to fucking kill ourselves, to go, hey, you know something? 1 million likes, I'm going to eat a fucking Tide Pod. No, it's not going to fucking happen that way. And it should never happen that way. The most important thing you have is your fucking life. You don't have your life, you're fucking nothing. And that's the thing that people need to realize.
And say for the sake of argument that you do get the lethal dose of the Tide Pod in your mouth or whatever the case may be, and unfortunately you pass away. First off, think of all the people that are actually in your life that are going to be affected by the fact that you're no longer on this earth. Okay? And then take into the fact that this popularity that you want so badly, this global acceptance that you search for, you will forever be known as the dumbass who swallowed laundry detergent. That's the legacy you want? Think about it. And I think to go back, Christina, I think you hit the nail right on the head, was the fact that like, maybe they think they're immortal or something. It's exactly right. From the millennials to whatever this generation is now, they've grown up feeling that there is no consequences for their actions because somebody protected them in some way, shape, form, or another. That's why these generations are getting worse and worse and worse. And it goes back to us. It goes back to Generation X. We were the ones that started this unfortunate trend. Not all of us, but a good majority of us raised the millennials. Now the millennials are having this generation. And unfortunately, it's a vicious cycle that we really started, even though we were supposed to be the worst generation, of not taking responsibility for your actions or not realizing that your actions do come with consequences, good or bad. And these kids are probably thinking, oh, I'll be all right as long as I spit it out. You still swallow that shit, even if in minute amounts. It could cause as little as you just have an uncomfortable bowel movement in the bathroom or throwing up a little bit to death.
Well, there's more than just swallowing it, too. There's also, people don't take into consideration, I mean, this is a powder that liquefies in water. You know, your mouth, in general, has a lot of open pores. Like, pores is probably not the right word, but it has, you absorb things into your mouth. There means some ways of taking pills. You can put them under your tongue and they dissolve, and they literally soak into your skin, into your whatever
bloodstream.
Yeah. So when you're putting this fucking Tide Pod in your mouth and you're letting it dissolve in your mouth, you're actually sucking this. Even if I can spit it out. No, it's still fucking absorbing into your bloodstream. You're still putting a toxin into your fucking bloodstream that you're not supposed to have in your bloodstream. So that's the one thing that people need to realize right off the bat.
No, you're absolutely right. Is the one thing normally on this show, as Christina and I were saying off camera, normally in this show, myself, because it's usually just me, I usually have a very conservative, very Republican point of view to certain details that I want to rant about. Christina obviously is the opposite end of the coin. Her and I are still friends and stuff like that, and I could state this, and she'll agree with me on this, is regardless of whether you're liberal or conservative, whether you're Republican or Democrat, we can all agree. Stop putting laundry detergent in your fucking mouth, you retarded ass children.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, I mean, we're friends. We do argue about stuff once in a while. It does happen.
A lot.
A lot more than it does need to. But we're not getting into that one because even though that would probably bring some likes in. But
again, I thought about bringing you on because here's the thing. Christina has a very different point of view than I do about a lot of many different things. Like we could talk, and we're not going to, but just an example as for current events, we could talk about the government shutdown and whose fault it is. And she'll have a completely different point of view from me. But here's the deal. This is something that I've noticed on social media and in life in general does not happen that her and I can do. We can have debate. It could become heated, and we can still be friends afterwards because it's at the end of the day, it's still just a point of view.
I mean, granted, we probably both call each other some really fucked up names behind each other back for a little bit, but so be it.
Well, the words dumbass come to mind once or twice, but it's like, whatever, she'll learn, and I go on with life. And I'm sure you do the same thing to me. So, but that's the key thing, is we go on in life. A lot of people don't do that. That's why I thought about bringing you on this show, because I have wanted to bring a representation of the opposite side. You know what I mean? If you will. It's like bringing a representative of the Empire and the Republic together.
And you're obviously the Empire.
I'm happily the Empire. That's fine by me. The First Order!
Think about it. Evil, oppressive government.
That's the Democratic Party.
Don't forget, we're Republican controlled right now.
Republican controlled, shut down by the... But again, we're not going into that. Let's stay into the topic at hand. Dumb children.
I'll just put it this way. I'll put it this way, very simple as far as allegiances. Here's my lightsaber.
Just remember, on this show, there are no great Jedi. Why is it every show on Realm of the Mist has some form of Star Wars theme on it?
I don't know.
Even the Star Trek show has a Star Wars
Does it
theme
really?
On it. Yeah, because I'm on it.
Honestly, talking about Star Trek, I did actually watch Star Trek Beyond a couple times now. And actually, I do like the Kelvin timeline. I know a lot of people don't like it. I do like it. And the one part, the second time I watched it, I caught it. And then we'll get back on the Tide Pods. But the one part, Crawl, when he's attacking, I can't remember, Jonestown, I think was the name of the base. And he looks in the window.
Yeah. I think it was Yorktown.
Yeah, I think it was Yorktown. But he looks in the window and goes, "Hello, old friend." At first time I watched it, I thought he was talking about Kirk. Because he had an obvious obsession with Kirk. The second time I watched it and I knew a little bit more of the backstory, I realized he wasn't talking about Kirk. He was talking about the freaking Franklin. So Franklin was his ship.
Yeah, he was the captain of that ship.
So it was kind of interesting, like, to watch it the second time and go. But I really, and I'm sorry, Death by Beastie Boys is just epic.
There was see, in a world like we could talk about The Last Jedi in the same statement as Star Trek Beyond, because Beyond took a lot of grief and heat, and so did In the Darkness. because of like, well, Into Darkness drew it because of too many parallels to a Wrath of Khan, but they reversed it because obviously it's a different timeline. So that took a lot of heat. It was too similar. Sound like a Force Awakens. Beyond, it was too different, and then you had, out of the box thinking like using Beastie Boy music to take out the billions of freaking little buzz ships that were flying around.
The bees. That's
The
what
bees.
Jayla called it. The bees.
The bees.
The bees. But the
And
reason behind that makes sense, though, because they explained it why it would work, because it disrupted their signal, which was using them to coordinate, which
essentially they were slamming into each other. It's not that the music was blowing them up; it was making them disoriented enough that they were slamming into each other.
And it made for some really awesome cinematography, too, just saying.
And you got to hear Sabotage.
Of course.
There's nothing wrong with hearing Sabotage.
Nothing wrong with hearing Beastie Boys, period. And we all know J.J. Abrams has a huge, just loves Beastie Boys.
To the point that even in The Force Awakens, one of the Black Squadron pilots, the alien guy, was named Aloe Asti.
I think there was, I remember correctly, I believe in Last Jedi, there's also I'm almost positive that there's also a Beastie Boys reference in Canto Bight. I have to
There may be.
I'm pretty sure there is another reference. I just got to look it up again to see what it is. But let's get back to Tide Pods.
I know for a fact, Aloe Asti was named after Hello Nasty, the Beastie Boys album. So, and
let's get back to Tide Pods.
Love of the Beastie Boys. Well, the Tide Pods, I think we said all we need to say on the Tide Pods for the most part. It's just, you're dumb. Okay, these challenges in general need to stop. If they don't serve a positive purpose like the Ice Bucket Challenge did, they don't need to exist. I mean, because you've amped it up to the point where the only thing left is death, maiming, and dismemberment.
Which is pretty much what's happening.
Which is pretty much what's happening. There's no happy in between. But I mean, the major thing is I'm gonna bring it straight to the point. Parents, where the fuck are you? Get off your goddamn social media phones and pay attention to what the hell your kids are doing. Look, I know back in the day my parents didn't know what I was doing 24/7. I know the excuses. I know I don't know what my kids are doing 24/7 because we have busy lives. But I know when my kids are in their room. I know what they're on and what they're doing and who they're talking to. Okay? I know what's going on when they're out at a friend's house because I stay involved. Parents, where the fuck are you? Get out of your little fucking central world and start paying attention to your kids because they're about to kill themselves while you're busy flipping through the fucking channels on TV looking for the next episode of fucking Meet the Kardashians.
For nothing more than to get more likes on YouTube.
On YouTube and Facebook and Instagram,
Twitter,
and
all that bullshit. I mean, that's what it is. It's not even like anything more than just to get fucking likes.
Parents, monitor what your kids are doing. If your kids has a YouTube channel, you should be watching it. I've got my older son's YouTube channel. I watch it religiously. Any video that comes up, I watch.
Do you also like it so you know so you know you're watching?
What's that?
Do you also like his videos so he knows you're watching, or?
Depends.
If you like the video, you like it.
Yeah, well, no, it's not that. It's once in a while I don't want him to know. Sometimes I don't want him to know that I'm monitoring.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Which, if he watches this video, he'll know I'm monitoring. But his shit's mostly fucking skateboarding stuff anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. You know, if I see any dangerous things on skateboarding, it's because he fucking took a bad spill on a fucking ramp or something. But,
oh, come on. I used to skateboard. You know I fucked myself up a few times doing that. I mean, that's yet again, that's something completely different.
It is.
I mean, that's not me deliberately sitting there trying to kill myself to get likes on Facebook. I skateboarded because I enjoyed skateboarding. It just so happened, my skateboarding career ended after a very serious accident. And then that's exactly what it was. It was an accident. Essentially, I went for a rail slide, went down a flight of concrete stairs, chipped 3 vertebrae in my back, and, put myself in the hospital for, I think it was almost a month. So...
And we've all done stupid shit. I was a pro wrestler for fucking 20 years. One of the signature things I was known for out in Colorado was lighting my arm on fire to deliver a top rope flying clothesline with my arm on fire.
That's stupid.
It was controlled. It was controlled. I would wear a arm pad or whatever else, and I would use lighter fluid. And as soon as I lit it, I would come off the rope, do the clothesline, and get the arm pad off with the lighter fluid off before it could do any damage. That being said, yes, number one, it was fucking retarded. Number two, I'm not saying I never had accidents where I've overfilled with lighter fluid and it burned through the arm pad, or somebody didn't set up fast enough, so I'm standing there with my arm on fucking fire, and stuff of that nature. Next thing you know, I'm spending a couple days fucking putting on aloe vera and smelling burnt hair. I mean,
Crispy.
it was dumb.
Toasty.
Crispy. It was dumb, but I still wasn't sticking poisonous materials in my mouth. I wasn't daring myself to say, hey, you know what would really be great? Gurgling Drano. That's the next challenge.
No, it'd be the magical chocolate fountain underneath your car.
Oh my God. Yeah, the magical challenge. Sit there and guzzle the used oil out of an oil change. This is what you kids are doing. If you're watching this video, it sounds stupid what I'm saying, doesn't it? Sounds like, oh, who would drink fucking dirty oil? Who would gargle with bleach? That's what you're fucking doing.
Exactly.
That is essentially, literally what you are doing. Understand, I don't care that you guys have YouTube channels. I don't care that you guys want to have some form of popularity. But if you want real popularity, here's the way to go do it. Get the fuck out of your parents' basement. Shut down the computer. Turn off your fucking phone. Get a group of friends together. Go do something with yourself. Be constructive. Be original. Be creative. Go build a fort.
I mean, I'll say this much as far as like stupidity on YouTube's concerned. I mean, I remember when Jackass was popular and Viva La Bam, those shows. And there was a big issue with people trying to do the same kind of Jackass stunts. And I remember this. It was a big deal because people were getting fucked up from this. But at the same time, they weren't just sitting there going, hey, look, I can put a Tide Pod in my mouth. Da-da-da. I mean, I have to give them people more credit than you dumb motherfuckers for putting a Tide Pod in your mouth. That's the dumbest shit ever. It doesn't even sound fun to watch, okay? It's, hey, look what I can do. Guess what? So can a fucking monkey. So can a fucking baby. Anyone can put something in their fucking mouth that's not supposed to fucking be there. You're supposed to have the knowledge at this point in your fucking life to say, hey, you know something? I have a little more common sense than to fucking do this.
Well, see, that's where I was going to go real quick with this, is to clarify, putting something in your mouth is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, there is that chip challenge, that world's hottest chip challenge that people have been putting up, or the devil's toe lollipop, the hottest lollipop, and you're supposed to hold it in your mouth for 5 minutes, something like that.
But once again, that's not going to kill you.
Well, it could. I mean, they do have disclaimers that if you have a weak heart or can't handle very, very spicy, don't do this. But you watch the people do it, I mean, they break out in sweats and their fucking saliva dripping everywhere and, like their eyes are bloodshot. Like, they're suffering, and it's disgusting to hilarious depending on your taste and sense of humor. But again, it's not drinking bleach. It's not drinking Drano, which is what laundry detergent is. When you break it down to its essentials, it's made... All right, this is the best way I can describe it. What you're putting in your mouth is made to get the fucking skid marks out of your dirty-ass underwear. Think about that. This stuff is so powerful to get them fucking brown-ass skid marks out of your fucking underwear. And you're putting that in your mouth. What the fuck is wrong with you? Seriously, go. I want you right now. I want you to go into the bathroom or into your bedroom, wherever you got a fucking mirror. I want you to look yourself square in the eyes and ask yourself, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why do I need this much attention that I'm willing to risk my own life? Does your life suck that much? As somebody who works 40 plus hours a week, actually more like 60 hours a week, is continuously on call, barely has any money, barely gets to see my kids, pay more than half my paycheck in child support and stuff like that. Believe me when I tell you, life can get a lot worse than needing to put a Tide Pod in my fucking mouth. Your life does not suck that much. Knock it off. And if you want proof, there's a perfect segue. If you want proof that life can get a lot worse, there was something else that came in that I wanted to discuss real quick. If you don't mind, we're going to turn attention real quick. Over in Los Angeles, well, California, it's like just outside LA, there was a grandparents who went to go visit their grandkids living in Los Angeles, which they hadn't seen in over 6 years. And when they got there, they discovered that their 13 grandchildren were starved and tortured by their son and his wife for 6 years. Starved, chained to beds, malnourished to the point of almost looking like Ethiopians, like pot-bellied, no muscle mass, no, like stick figures. And these kids were let me get the article to figure out the range here. The children ranged from ages 2 to 29 years old. 2 to 29. And these parents were locking them in the house, chaining them to boards and to walls and to beds and stuff of that nature. They considered it a privilege if they were able to take a shower once a month, these kids. They considered they were lucky if they were ever fed more than once a week. That is worse than whatever it is that has you thinking I need to be popular on YouTube by sticking laundry detergent in your mouth. I don't care how fucking strict or not strict your parents are. I don't care how much attention you think you deserve. At least you're not dealing with something like this. Christina, am I wrong?
No, you're not. And I do have one kind of concerning issue with this news, though. It's something that, as you were telling the story, that kind of popped into my mind, which kind of really bothers me as well. Other than the fact that these poor children, 29 years old, that's not even a child, that's a full-grown adult.
I know, that's fucking 12 years younger than me.
So, okay, if you have a kid youngest kid is 2, the oldest is 29. Okay, obviously people knew these kids existed if the oldest is 29.
They were homeschooled, according to the article.
But you would still know that these kids existed. You have neighbors, I have neighbors, okay? I know my neighbors, I know how, I could see, they have kids, they have this, they have that. Shouldn't that have been some sort of red flag when these kids just all of a sudden weren't outside anymore? Things like that, like, I would have thought, like, these kids vanishing and not, even if kids are homeschooled, they still have to pop into society once in a while. They still have to be shown this, that, and the other. They still have to go to doctors. They still have to go to stuff like that. They still go outside and play. Any normal child would be outside and play at some point. So my question is, and it's the one thing that's really kind of bothered me, is like, no one fucking noticed all of a sudden these kids disappeared for 6 years?
Well, interpret how you wish on this. According to the news article, okay, and according to the news, sources and neighbors and all reported that the outside of the house looked as normal as it could be. It was kept, it was trimmed, it was all the ways that most normal people in neighborhoods keep their homes. The inside of the house, though, was like a horror fest, like a nightmare of the way they kept their children. Now, the report is that they did bounce around from place to place. They did move from place to place. So first off, right there is one of the reasons why nobody really took particular notice. They may have never known they even had kids. They get them in the house, they lock them up, they keep them in there. As far as I know, they were never allowed outside. From what I understand, the 12-year-old girl escaped, and that's how this shit was found out. So finally, somebody got enough nerve, gumption, was able to get out of that house and go find help. But from what I understand, the grandparents who I forget where it said I shut it down. I forget where it said they lived. Hadn't seen these kids in 6 years, and when they saw them 6 years ago, they were fine. They were healthy. They were happy. Somewhere within that 6 years from the last time the grandparents saw them till this shit is when something snapped in mom and dad's brain. So this isn't something that's been going on from, like, say, birth, except for maybe like the really young ones. You know what I mean? This is something that just out of nowhere seems to have just gone on. I don't know if it's a mental illness, like a breakdown or midlife crisis, cry for help. You know, I'm not looking to try to place any blame. Or not a blame. I'm not looking to try to place any form of excuse, because in my mind, as a father, and you as well as a parent, there is no excuse. I don't care what the reason is. You endangered your children's well-being, their lives, their livelihood, their futures. For what? You know, how could somebody be that ruthlessly evil?
I mean, I'm curious to hear. I'm waiting to hear this story develop a little bit more, just for the pure reason of curiosity right now. Because we know as soon as this story starts getting out and they getting into stuff more with all of this, there's going to be more coming out. They're going to be we're going to probably find out eventually why this happened this way. What was the start of all this? I mean, it's kind of. I mean, this is a bad horror movie. This is the plot to a very fucked up horror movie that. Any way you look at it, and I'm curious to see what happened and what caused things to go this fucked up. I mean, we've heard of it before. I mean, we've heard of really fucked up horror movie situations before. There was what was her name? The girls that were locked up in that guy's basement that escaped.
Right.
They were missing for like 6-7 years, and
yeah,
the one finally managed to escape after 6-7 years. You know, I mean, this is not, unfortunately, like a one and done. This happens, and there's probably people that this is happening to, or something similar is happening to right now, and that's an unfortunate reality, and that's what really kind of it's disturbing that people would do this to anybody, let alone a fucking child.
Exactly.
I mean, especially when just a child in general. Doesn't matter if you're a fucking parent or not. It's still. Those children did nothing to fucking deserve anything like that. You know, they're not, and now these kids, honestly, even right up to that 29-year-old, are probably going to have a lifetime of fucking therapy or whatever else, and they're going to be fucked up the rest of their lives because you're a fucking piece of shit. And this is like, I mean, on something that is completely unspeakable.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right on that. And I mean, at best case scenario, these kids, 29 on down, these kids are going to be dealing with PTSD, trust issues, for the rest of their lives. They're never going to have a healthy relationship with anybody.
They're never going to live a normal life, period, or anything close to a normal life.
Hey, Tide Pod kids, think your life's bad? Think about this before you put that fucking detergent in your mouth. I hope they draw and quarter these motherfuckers that did this. I really do.
Well, that's kind of archaic punishment, but they deserve.
I don't care. It was archaic treatment to the children.
You know something? I look at it this way. You know what they should do? Honestly, maybe they should do the same treatment they gave the kids. Maybe they should fucking lock them up somewhere in like a fucking. Just how about this? We just build a fucking cinder block enclosure, put them motherfuckers in there, throw them food once every week, like a fucking pack of ramen noodles, and see how well they fucking feel after 6 years.
Yeah. I'm fine.
And as far as cost of that does not cost that much, because a pack of ramen noodles is fucking 10 cents. Throw them a fucking pack of ramen noodles, say, here, have fun, and, you know, give them, just fucking leave them in a goddamn cinder block enclosure and see how well they fucking feel after 6 years. Because that's what these motherfuckers deserve. I mean, that's exactly what these motherfuckers deserve. They don't deserve, like, any kind of leniency. Even to put them motherfuckers in jail is too good for them.
Well, that's it. Now you're just taxing. Now you're just taxing the general populace with paying taxes to make sure these wastes of sperm and eggs get 3 hots and a cot, cable TV, access to a college education. No, they should not be a burden on society.
Well, let's be honest here. Let's just look at the prison system in general here with this. You know very well as I do, once they go into general population, they probably won't live past a month.
That is true. You know, they
The
even
inmates
the
will
most
take care of
criminal,
that one.
even the most hardened murderous criminal, even somebody like Charles Manson, for argument's sake, does not care for child molesters and child abusers.
No, I
You won't
agree.
be around long.
Look at what's his name, Dahmer, Jeffrey Dahmer, the probably one of the most famous serial killers of our time.
Yeah.
As far as growing up, I remember hearing about him. I believe I was still in high school when he got arrested. He lasted, I think, a couple months before the inmates literally hung him in his fucking jail cell. So yeah, you put these motherfuckers in general population. Let's let the inmates deal with this one.
Well, the biggest thing about the psychology of people who harm children. Let's be real for a minute. People who harm children primarily are the type of people who, I don't know why I'm trying to protect my words here like I'm trying to be politically correct. These fucktards are the types of people who were bullied as kids, who feel like they have no power in their normal life, so they take it out on the powerless. And that children, to them, that is what you represent, is the powerless, unable to defend yourself, unable to protect yourself from these. It's the truest form of monstrosity. I don't care if it's child molestation, child murder, child torture, like this would be considered.
This is definitely child torture.
Right. No matter the spectrum of harming a child, the fact of the matter is, it's the power trip for the powerless, is really what it is. So when they go into the general populace where they've got powerful, non-remorseful fucking killers and thieves and rapists and shit like that in there, you're now that powerless child, and they will treat you accordingly. That's the fact.
I think as far as you made up the comment about bullying, I was severely bullied in high school.
So was I.
But at this point, I'm 40 years old now. I'm living a fairly normal life, regardless of, what I went through in high school. I was also in a domestic abuse situation where I had an ex who, I'm not getting into that too much, but I had an abusive ex. But yet again, I have got myself to a point where I'm living a normal life. I work a normal job. I have an apartment. I have a nice car. I still live a normal life. I still live for my fucking children. Like, my children are still the most important thing in my life. So, just to give you an idea right there. So it's no fucking excuse. Okay, my life has been absolute bullshit growing up. You know that. You know the shit I've dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
My life has been fucking incredibly difficult. I know Chris's life has been incredibly difficult. Especially over the last, 10 years or so. Or 10 years. About 10 years.
To give you full disclosure, I fought my way off the streets twice. I faced a hellacious divorce, which has separated me from my kids, and I've been battling that for the past 5-6 years ever since. I literally had to rebuild from scratch 3 times in my life. And by scratch, I mean literally a bag of clothes is all I owned. A backpack full of clothes was all I owned, to this now. The struggle is out there. It may be different for different people, but we all face hard times and struggles. We all face bullying. We all face people that put us down or beat our asses, figuratively, emotionally, mentally. Physically. My pain is not better than Christina's. Christina's is not better than mine. It's
different.
It's still the pain, regardless. Yeah,
it's just
different,
a different
but it's still
pain.
the pain. Right.
Just as, for example, if Chris got his toe cut off and I got my finger cut off.
It still hurts.
Either way you look at it, I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, it's actually bringing to a good point right now, which I'm going to touch on. It's like people today can't deal with bullshit anymore. I mean, granted, yeah, we all have our levels of bullshit we can deal with. I definitely have my threshold where it gets too much. I'm sure Chris definitely has his too, where it's to a point where you just want to fucking either grab a gun and start just going berserk, start flipping out, or whatever else. But we have enough control not to do that, first of all. But we all have a threshold. Hell, I remember back, Toby, I want actually to go a little bit into geekdom here for a sec to prove my point. Toby Hooper created one of my all-time favorite horror movies, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It came out in 1977. His inspiration, which we all know is based on serial killer Ed Gein. However, his inspiration for the chainsaw, a lot of people don't know this, was he was in Sears. In the tool section, or the tool hardware section, whatever you want to call it, and there was a bunch of people there, and he was over by like the lawn care equipment, and there was a chainsaw there, and he looked at the chainsaw and he said, "You know something, this would be a really great way to get through this whole crowd." And that was, I mean, right there, he could have like picked a chainsaw up and started slashing and dashing. No, instead he made it one of the greatest horror movies of all time. I mean,
Well, that's the major and different thing, and you're absolutely right. We've all reached that point in our life. As a perfect mutual example, I can't tell you how many times a day I've had the thought from 2012 to today. I've had the thought that God, my life would be so much easier if I just went and put a fucking bullet in my ex-wife's head. You don't know my story, so you don't know Christina does. The people watching don't know my story. So you don't know the level of pain that I deal with on a regular basis for my ex-wife and dealing with my kids and stuff like that. But here's the indifference. It's a thought. It passes. I go find a positive, constructive way to vent off my anger, like starting an internet podcast company or playing a fucking video game. That's what I do to release the negative tensions and energies and thought processes that go through my mind with the pains that I deal with. Christina, I'm sure, and I'm positive, does the exact same thing. She's got days where she's like at work, or especially at her last job, dealing with some of the shit that she used to deal with. Well, I'm not going to go into detail. That's up for her to talk about. But I know she had some fucking like impure thoughts about these people that she found a better way of handling rather than acting upon those thoughts or impulses.
yeah, I fucking quit that job. That's how I dealt with that impulse.
Right, but before you quit that job, you had to find ways to positively get rid of it, whether it was venting to somebody, playing a video game, getting involved with breaking the fourth wall, or drinking, whatever it was that you found to be able to escape that pressure and get those thoughts out of your head. You did. It was a positive way of handling it. That's the difference between a normal person and a person like these assholes that we were just talking about. Is maybe they were feeling their children were a burden on them, that they had too many kids, it was fucking their life up, and that's what made them snap. I don't know, I'm speculating, so bear with me with this. All right? How many people who have more than one child have probably had that thought process in their head, like, I can't afford this, they're driving me nuts, these kids are out of control, blah, 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 whatever arguments we have, right? Now, the normal human being takes a breath. They go find a way to clear their head and get right because they love their kids and they know that you're not going to harm them and stuff of that nature. And, you may yell at them, you may punish them, you may put them in their room, grounding them, whatever, take away their PlayStation, whatever, but you don't physically harm them. Then you got these two fucktards that took it to the extreme. That's the difference between a human being and shitholes like this. Is human beings, even though they may have the thought from time to time, will not act upon that impulse. They will find another means to clear their heads, clear their minds, and act like normal, civilized human beings. Where these fucktards had the thought, pop in their head, become impulsive to it and do the deed that's unspeakable.
I mean, we have kids. Everyone who has kids knows there's times in your life where you sit there and you're ripping your fucking hair out. You know, you just want to unload on your kids. I mean, it happens to all of us. Like, we all stress out. We're all like, fuck it, I'm going to sell you all to, I'm going to fucking sell you all. I swear to Christ. Yeah, but you know something at the same time, it's normal. Kids are going to know how to push your fucking buttons. That's what they do. To punish a child in this aspect is fucking ridiculous, and it's just, I mean, whatever the case is, I don't know what the fuck started it, unfortunately, that I know that information is not out yet, and it may not be out for a while. Whatever the reason is, I'm sure it's bullshit, okay? It's an excuse. Excuses are like fucking assholes. Everyone has one, they usually stink.
That's pretty much it. And I'd like to take this opportunity for a moment real quick and just apologize to my mother. Just on this conversation, like, I know I put you through some shit. I wasn't popping fucking Tide Pods in my mouth or whatever else. And in turn, you weren't fucking chaining me into to a bed and starving my ass. But, I deserve the ass chewings and the ass beatings I took from time to time. And I was a dumbass kid. I'm sorry.
He still deserves them.
Probably. To end this note, I want to talk about two things that recently came to my attention yesterday. Normally, this is something we cover on like Trans Geek Girl or Breaking the Fourth Wall, but since I have you here, I figured we could talk about this real quick. Of course, it was reported about Dolores. Oh my God! Oh, the lead singer of the Cranberries.
Okay.
I can't remember her last name. I'm sorry. It was released that she was a suicide.
Oh, it was a suicide?
It was a suicide. And Tom Petty's cause of death has finally been released. Drug overdose.
Somehow, okay, the Tom Petty one somehow doesn't surprise me.
Quite honestly, the suicide doesn't really surprise me that much either.
Hold on a sec. Let me see something here. I'm pulling something up right now, so.
That's fine. But I just wanted to bring it up especially because with the Cranberries one, you were the one that brought it to my attention that she
It's
passed
Dolores O'Riordan, by the way.
O'Riordan, that's what it was. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was O'Rear something. I just couldn't remember what it was. I'm sorry, I wasn't that big of a fan of the Cranberries. I like two songs of theirs. It's the same one everybody has heard, the same two that everybody heard. So it was very weird for me to be able to even speak on the fact that she had passed on. But now to discover that yet again, in the past 365 days, 3 people from our genre of music styles has committed suicide, i.e. Chester Pennington, Dolores O'Riordan, and Chris Cornell. That's, I don't want to call it an epidemic, but it's enough of an epidemic in the music industry that's what's causing this now. You know what I mean?
Okay, honestly, I'm looking right now. I'm not seeing anything on that article, so I have to look that up later.
All right.
As of right now, the last thing which I can find on here is 8 hours ago from Rolling Stone, where it's saying no cause of death until at least, hold on, let's see what this is, will not be released till at least April. That's according to the London Coroner's Office on Friday.
All right. Well, maybe it was a premature article that it was.
It's very possible. They've done it before. I think, God, who the hell was it? They said they were dead, and it was like, no, I'm not. It was like Variety too. It wasn't even like one of these stupid ass sites that love to put up mock deaths. It was.
Oh no! It wasn't something like that. It was a metal music website.
Yeah.
Like Metal Zone, but not Metal Zone. I forget exactly what it was. I'll have to look up the article because Jen had sent it to me. But now I'm wondering if it's not being reported yet by, again, when it comes to celebrity things, I trust TMZ. I don't trust TMZ for normal news, but when it comes to things like a celebrity's death, they're usually spot on. So if I see something and then I see TMZ also reported it, I know it's legit. You know what I mean? That's me fact checking things. I
Yeah.
don't trust TMZ like you and I were discussing before when it comes to political things. I trust TMZ about as much as I trust either Fox News and or CNN. The only way I trust the report either from CNN or from Fox is if both of them reported the exact same thing. Because otherwise they're just spinning off their own propaganda, one side or the other. So unless I see it from both, that's how I fact check myself on things. So for people who want to know how I come across with my opinions and stuff like that, that's how. I go searching both sides of the argument to find the common ground. With something like a celebrity death, I did not get an opportunity to fact check this. So if I came off as coming as face value, my apologies. But it is very possible that this is either just rumor, speculation, or somebody jumping the gun on the coroner's report.
Which
But
is likely because everyone wants to get, especially when it's something like this too. They always want to get that. Hey, look, we have the breaking news, so they get. It's pretty much the media doing the Tide Pod challenge.
yeah, pretty much.
Hey, look, we got the news first. Look at us, give us likes. I mean, it's the same kind of stupidity. Rather
Yeah, pretty
than
much.
waiting for the London coroner's office to say, "Hey, this is what really happened," because even her last tweet on Twitter was heading back to Ireland. We're saying goodbye to, I think it was a cat, and saying heading back to Ireland. That doesn't seem like somebody who's about to kill themselves.
No, that's exactly it. And I mean, she was in studio from last report that I read. She was in studio in London, basically recording new music.
And that's exactly what she was doing. As they just finished up the album, she was heading back to Ireland. So, like
So
I said, there's some question marks about whether that would actually be a suicide or not. I mean, we won't know until the coroner's report comes out and say, yes, this was a suicide, this is what happened, or whatever. I know it's not being treated as suspicious. It could even be like a Heath Ledger where it's an accidental overdose or something like that too. I mean, Heath Ledger, that was an accidental overdose.
no, that's fair. That's fair enough. And but at the same time, I think of things like look at Lemmy or Chester Pennington or Chris Cornell. For a perfect example, granted, Lemmy was not a suicide; the other two were. But I'm meaning they were on stage hours before their death. You know what I mean? So
Well, with Cornell too, they've already attributed that to the medication he was on, that he actually took too much of it, which one of the side effects of this antidepressant is suicidal thoughts.
anybody else catch the irony in that statement?
Oh no, I mean,
Antidepressants make you want to kill yourself.
I mean that's pretty much why I think it was actually an anti-anxiety medication because Chris Cornell does suffer from some severe anxiety, especially
Right.
when facing the public. I mean, he's not the only musician that suffered from this. Jim Morrison is probably the most famous, to a point where he would perform and he would have his back to the audience so he didn't have to look at him. So this is not uncommon. But yeah, he kind of took too much of it because even his wife said that, you know something, I talked to him a couple hours before this happened and we were talking about a trip we were planning. So that's the other thing. These big pharmacy companies need to fucking stop with some of the bullshit they're pulling. Some of their medication, the side effects are fucking ridiculous.
Well, it's not just even the medications or the side effects. People need to stop looking to medications to be the solve or of the problem. Uh, I've argued the point numerous times about things like ADD and ADHD medications. Now, back when I was a kid, it wasn't Adderall. It was Ritalin. And let me explain what Ritalin was. Ritalin was basically a pill-formed heroin.
It was zombie medication.
It was literally zombie medication. When you were on it, oh, you were laser fucking focused. But as soon as that shit you started coming down from that high, you were violent. You were uncontrollable. You literally had to consistently be on this pill to keep you level, even. All right? That's not okay. I'd rather have a fucking hyperactive kid than a kid that I have to keep medicated to keep from lashing out and acting stupid. And by stupid, I mean violent. You know what I mean? Adderall, as far as I understand, is pretty much the exact same way. And then, God forbid, you have a teenager on this shit and they're going out drinking with their buddies. Teenagers do it. Don't kid yourself. And this medication does not mix well with alcohol or, God forbid, other forms of drugs. But pharmaceuticals will push it on you. Here's the miracle cure. Here's the miracle cure. This will handle this. This will handle that. It's got side effects out the ass. It does not mix well with other normal use things. We need to stop looking to medications for the answer to things. Yes, okay, sometimes blood pressure pills are a must because your blood pressures are high and it regulates that.
Well,
That's something different. You
there's
know what I mean?
medications, the medical medications like that, the ones that are like blood pressure medications, things to that aspect. I mean, that's a completely different basket than like anxiety medications, depression medications. I mean, I remember this is years ago, but it was one of these TV ads for one of these, social anxiety medications. But the side effects they listed, I literally face palmed because it was like, I mean, it was like shit that it was everything that you would never want to happen in a social setting, like uncontrollable erections, anal leakage. It was like all this shit is like, I would not want any of this to happen. I would think that would just give me social anxiety in general, knowing that I just took this medication that might make me shit myself when I'm out in public. And
That's the bad one. The uncontrollable erection I'd be fine with, but the other one, like, who wants to play with that uncontrollable erection when I shit myself? I think I'll just stick to the itchy, watery eyes. You know what I mean? You're
or the
not
uncontrollable How about the compulsive gambling side effect? There's a
kidding.
good one.
The impulsive gambling. Dude, I mean, seriously, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. It could be the most mundane problem, like I made a joke about it, but like the itchy, watering eyes, one of the side effects is death. Really? I'll just rub my eyes and put some saline in and I'm good to go. Why would I want to risk, again, like the Tide Pod Challenge, why would I want to risk death to pop a pill in my mouth just to get rid of something that's nothing more than an irritant?
And that's how we bring this back around.
That's it, yeah. That's full circle. This is the stupidity of the world. This is, again, people looking for an easy way out or an easy excuse to something without taking the moment to realize that there are consequences and repercussions to your actions. When you really think about it, and that's really the whole theme of everything we talked about today. It's Newton's law, or not Newton, Einstein.
I'm about to say no, it's not Einstein. Einstein's the theory of relativity, and Newton was the law of gravity.
All right, well, who was it? Free my mind then for a second here. Who was it that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction?
That's actually the theory of relativity, but it's a different aspect. But yeah.
But it applies in this manner. For everything you do, there will be a consequence. Whether positive or negative, there will be a consequence. There will be a repercussion to everything you do in life. And guess what? It is your responsibility to figure out what those repercussions or what those consequences are. And then handle it accordingly. Not pass the blame, not sit there and think like, oh, nothing could ever happen, nothing could ever go wrong, nothing will happen to me. Don't be stupid in life. All right, do your research, use your common sense, and for God's sake, get the goddamn Tide Pods out of your mouth. Christina, where can they find you if they want to talk to you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, That Trans Geek Girl. Just search in the title, it should pop up. You can also find me on Facebook at Christina Tali, or which is Christina Tali at That Trans Geek Girl, and also on Twitter at trans_vixen. And also pops up from time to time in other Realm of the Mist shows as well.
You can find me on the YouTube channel for Realm of the Mist, where this video will be. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and send off for the other videos, and including That Trans Geek Girl, Star Wars Canon Library. And of course, you can find me on realmofthemist.com if you want to speak to me. Christina, I hope you come.
You.
Nobody wants to speak to me. Christina, I hope you come back on to It Had to Be Said. We'll get into some more political things. But if we don't, that's fine because thanks to the stupidity of the internet, we will have plenty more to bitch about. Because you know what?
Always.
It had to be said. We'll catch you later.